my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to another edition of this or that and sometimes the other thing. And today we're kind of doing an other thing again, and that's because I've been getting so many questions about what can I make for a last minute gift. I just found out my daughter's coming over and bringing a baby, or my daughter-in-law's bringing her mother-in-law, or something like that. You know, my son is bringing a friend or something, and you want to make sure you have a gift for them so they don't feel left out. And it's always nice to have a gift for them, something for them maybe to open or just to take home with them to remember their time with you. And so today I've got some simple and quick crochet ideas for you to stitch up ahead of time, or maybe at that last minute, so that you'll have some things on hand for unexpected guests, or even if they're expected, but you weren't expecting them. You know what I mean? Now, number one idea is what I call jar cozies. You can get mason jars, or even old pickle jars, or salsa jars, or spaghetti sauce jars, anything that comes in a jar. And once you've eaten or used whatever contents is in the jar, you can wash it, get the label off, and then you can crochet a really neat cover for it. And then you can fill it with candies or treats, a gift card, all kinds of different things, and have a cute little thing. You can also put candles in these and make luminaries. And so it's a really neat idea to have on hand. And the thing about this is you can use all your leftover yarns to make some really fun jar cozies. Let me show you a few of those that I've done. So the second idea is to just stitch up a really thick and quick hat or cowl or scarf. And I do have a pattern called the 1 hour beanie and the 1 hour scarf, and they work up really fast. I think I also have a 1 hour, no, it's a 1 hour cowl. And that cowl, if you just make it longer, can become a scarf. And the truth of the matter is those whip up really fast. As a matter of fact, I have stitched up the hat real simply in an hour, and it's just called the 1 hour beanie and the 1 hour cowl. And those types of things, using a thick yarn that's beautiful, maybe Christmas colors. You know, you can, if you've got some chunky yarns in your yarn stash and you're like, I just don't know what to do with these, well, you can stitch up a couple of extra hats. And this is kind of a really neat idea, because you can have some of these setting aside, and then if you have an extra guest come, say your daughter comes home from college and she's bringing a friend that doesn't have anywhere to go, maybe their parents are out of town or something, you know, anybody that drops in unexpectedly and you want to have a gift for, these beanies are for everybody. Boys and girls and women and men and of all sizes and shapes. And so it's neat to have those. Well, you can stitch them up using your leftover super chunky, like number 5 and number 6 yarns. And then if they aren't given away after Christmas, you can take them to homeless shelters or homeless encampments, things like that, because it's cold in January and they need warm hats. Okay, and the same thing with scarves and cowls. If you don't end up giving them away, you can donate them to a good cause. All right, so I have the 1 hour beanie and the 1 hour cowl, and I'll show those to you right here. So another really fun thing that you can do for a last minute gift or unexpected guest is stitch up some little stuffed animals ahead of time. There are a gazillion patterns out there for little pillows and little animals and little things that are small. And it's kind of neat because some of these things for instance, if you stitch up a little penguin or a little monkey or something and they're little bitty, you can always put a ribbon on them and make them into an ornament. Okay, and it's just a really neat way to help people feel included. You know, you never know what's going on in their life, why they're at your house. Sometimes they're just tag-alongs and things. And if your kids are like mine, when my daughter was in college, we always had extra kids, always. And so, you know, it's just kind of fun to make sure that you have some extra things. Okay, and on this list here, I have stuffed toys and little pillows. You can make these out of scraps. And another thing is, if you make them using like your blanket yarns and your thick, bulky number 6 yarns, you can make a lot of little fun things. And so you can make a lot of these little pillows and little stuffies with your super thick yarns, and they'll stitch up really fast. And these are great for kids too. You know, if someone comes over and you didn't know they had a child, you know, or someone just pops in to say hello and they got a couple of kiddos with them, you can give them a little Amy that you stitched up, you know, and had on hand. And, you know, and that's why kind of, if you've looked at some of the things that we've done with our mini mystery crochet alongs, they're little tiny things that you can give. And our last one was for December. They were the little candies. Those would make great things to give to kids. And I've had several people, I'm not going to say lots, but several people tell me they're going to make it so one end of it can be untied and put candy inside. And I think that's a really great idea. And so it's just nice to have something, if they have children, that the children would like to have. You know, sometimes they might like a beanie, you know, or a jar filled with candy. And you can get plastic jars also about those jar cozies. You can get plastic jars also and use those. I know that Michael's and Hobby Lobby sell them in like 2 or might be 3 packs. They look just like mason jars, but they're just little plastic jars, which are safer for the kiddos if you want to give them those. But it's a great idea to have little stuffies that are fun and silly, you know. I think like that support pickle, I think that would be awesome to have a bunch of those made up. And anytime somebody comes over, give them one, you know. So it's just fun to have those. And you could make those using a blanket yarn, and they'd be just, you know, a little bit bigger, maybe quite a bit, depending on if you used a chunky 5 or a chunky 6. Okay. And so those are also really neat ideas that you can stitch up using some of your leftover chunky yarns. Now, another really fun thing to do, if you have unexpected guests and you want to make them feel included, or maybe just somebody stopped by and you want to give them something, is to stitch up Christmas washcloths. And they actually don't even have to be Christmas, just pretty ones, nice ones. And go to Dollar Tree and get some inexpensive soaps or hand washing. I wouldn't really get body wash or lotions or things like that unless they didn't have any scent, because you never know if somebody has an allergy. That's one thing, or sensitive to scents. I usually stick with lavender when I buy these. Of course, I love lavender myself, but you know, you can go to Dollar Tree, like I said, or even Walmart that has inexpensive cutesy bars of soap, or you know, hand wash bottles that are pretty. And there's a lot of them out there for like $1, you know. And if you don't end up giving them away, you've not wasted money, because we can always use hand soap, right? But you could pair up some of these soaps with a really fun washcloth, and that makes a really nice gift for someone. And like I said, this is a great way to help someone feel included or cared about. And also, if these washcloths are not, you know, they didn't take them, or especially if they're spending the night, it gives them a washcloth to have while they're there. Make sure they understand they can take it with them, of course. But if you end up with extras, it's no big deal. A washcloth, no matter the color of it, can be used any time of year. And another thing that works really great in this thing with washcloths is soap bags. And if you remember, a few months back, I think it was Creative Grandma did a huge thing with soap bags and donated them to homeless. And the neat thing about the soap bag is that you can put a bar of soap in it, and the soap bag and the soap make a washcloth. You wash with it, and then all they have to do is rinse it out and put it in a zip bag. And so if you have extra soap bags when you're done, and extra soap, again, something really nice that you can give to some of the homeless shelters. And they're really nice when they go to the ladies' homeless shelters, and because they really appreciate those special things. And like I said, these are items that even if you make them up ahead of time, they're not going to be wasted. Okay, and so those are some things that you can do, 5 different things. You can make jar cozies using jars you already have on hand or buy new ones. I always have a lot of canning jars because I do can. And and I have several like I showed you that you can do. The next thing we talked about is the chunky hats and scarves. And you don't have to use my pattern, of course, but if you make them with the chunky yarns, it whips up super fast. And you can't go wrong making hats. All people need them in the winter. Hats, scarves, and cows. Okay, then the other thing is stuffed animals or stuffies. Real simple little patterns. Little pillows, I have on the list as well. And make sure you make some cutesy ones in case they bring some kids along. And then, of course, the next one was a washcloths. And everybody loves washcloths. And like I said, pair them with some soap or some hand soap. And I if you know the person, you can always give them lotions or body wash. But I really, unless you don't know them, I would stick with just hand soaps and bars of soap. And then, of course, the last one is soap bags. And like I said, these are things that everybody can use. And once the holidays are over, or even if you want to, they're great things that you can donate to homeless shelters and homeless encampments and just different places. We used to do this thing where we would do up scarves, and I would go through all of my testing scarves and all my extra scarves, and we would put this little tag on there that said, "This scarf is not lost, it's for you. Feel free to take it. Merry Christmas." And we would take them and put them in parks and different places that were near where a lot of the homeless encampments would go. And that way they could find a scarf and know it's okay, and they can use it and have it and it's theirs. And it's also a way to kind of bring some cheer as well. So those are 5 different things you can make at the last minute for Christmas gifts. All right, so I just want to remind you to comment, and you can give us your ideas of last minute gifts as well. And again, I always say this, if you have any questions, crochet and yarn and yarny stuff, feel free to ask them, and I will do my best to find you an answer. And I do have some more this and that questions planned for the after the first of the year. I've got some more ideas, but I'm always open to your questions, and you never know, it may already be on my list. And another thing is, you can always check the this or that playlist and to see if some of those questions may already have been answered. Okay? So, feel free to comment, because I love to read your comments. And I'll see you next time for another edition of This or That, and sometimes the other thing. Alrighty, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next time.